You're listening to Flying Casual, a Star Wars podcast. Here's your host, Michael Canterbury.
Flying Casual Fam. Casual Fam. I think Casual Fam's the name of the group now.
Yeah, Casual Fam.
Casual Fam. Episode 8. We are live. Not really live, but I'm excited because
now we're live.
We are alive. Luke's alive.
In this moment.
And Luke is visible. I skirted my way around technology and figured out how to get his picture. Is there a slight delay? Yes, but the man is there. He's visible. If you're on YouTube, you can see him in the flesh, which is very exciting. So we've got Luke there. Luke, you doing well?
Doing great.
Doing great. We got him here. Audio's working well too, as far as I can tell. Everything's recording, so I think we are golden. I also got the lovely Holly with me here. How you doing, Holly? You doing well?
I'm great.
Doing great. Ready to
Just
talk
great.
Star Wars? Friends, it's been an interesting week of Star Wars. It's starting to feel like Christmas. Are you guys also having that moment? Are you feeling like Christmas is coming because there's so much Star Wars content?
If you want to watch the holiday special, you can just do it.
Well, we'll watch the holiday. That's a tradition now. I've only done it once last year, but that was quite the experience. Luke, you've seen the holiday special, right?
It's funny that you mention it. I actually watched it for the very first time last Christmas. My brother and I, he hadn't seen it either, and so we're just going to do it. And we sat where I'm sitting right now with another friend of mine, and had some good Christmas ales and
yes,
experienced the holiday special.
It's quite terrible, but it's as if, I don't know. The ending came, they're at that ceremony, and it's glorious. Spoilers. Well, that's just, there's a ceremony at the end of every Star Wars film or whatever. And I just went to the restroom, it's over. Went to the restroom, and I came back, and it was still going. There was singing. It was terrible. But it is fun to sit there and hang out and experience it with someone, just so you can see the look on their face of just utter disappointment. But maybe we'll have to do a little watch through and get Holly's opinion too.
I actually haven't watched the whole thing.
Oh God! Well, it's gonna be glorious.
Apparently, there are references to the holiday special in The Mandalorian. Favreau has said so. You study up so you catch those references.
Now I have to watch it.
So and a lot of the the visual, of the things, the just the Mandalorian's armor and his weapons, it's almost as if they took it directly from the holiday special. So it's gonna be interesting. That'll be fun. So something to look forward to in the next couple months. But yeah, so you've got some Star Wars to talk about this week. It is Sunday night. So y'all are probably listening to this on Monday, and then Tuesday comes The Mandalorian, and we are going to be doing a live discussion after we get to watch it, because there hasn't been a lot of information out about when it's dropping. But my boy Luke did a little investigation of his own on Disney Plus's website, and Luke, you did some calculations. I'm finding that math is your strength, and you found out that the app is airing at 6 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, they've got a countdown clock up on the Disney Plus website.
Yeah,
and if you calculate out to when it reaches 0, it's 6 a.m. on the 12th Eastern time. Oof. In the U.S. So I don't know if the show is actually going to drop then, or that's when you can start downloading and setting things up.
Yeah.
Who knows if Mandalorian will be available right away.
Well, I'll tell you, before I head into the day job, I'll be opening up the app to see if I can watch The Mandalorian. So we are planning on doing something Tuesday night on YouTube Live, 8-ish, I want to say right now. We'll go ahead and throw 8 o'clock out there. May have to push that back a little bit, just because we really don't know right now. We really don't know if The Mandalorian's going to drop at 6 a.m. that day, or if it's going to drop at 7 p.m. We just really don't know yet. So we'll be updating the Facebook group and as much as we can out there, so you guys can be a part of that discussion. I know everyone's going to be having a lot lot to say after that first episode drops. So really excited about that. Stay tuned for a little more. But we do have some Star Wars stuff to discuss. But before we do that, I want to discuss something that Luke showed me this week at work. You got this Star Wars character generator, Luke, and you had done your own character generator. And I think they asked, what's your birthday, all this good stuff, and it gives you a character, right? And is that accurate?
Yeah, a couple buddies of mine just texted me this out of the blue. It looks like it's from a Facebook group called Star Wars: The Last Fan Group. Oh. And yeah, just I've done Star Wars name generators before, and this I think was one of the most enjoyable ones. Yeah. And yeah, you need your birth month determines what species you are. The birth date determines your occupation, and the first 3 letters in your last name and the last 2 letters in your first name combine to be your Star Wars name to go along with the species and the occupation. So
we're going to post this in the group so everyone can figure out who they are and what they are. And then, so Luke, you did yours, and what were you? What were you doing? What species are you?
Yeah, so I'm a May birthday, and so that means I'm a Mandalorian.
Ooh.
That's pretty sick. That's pretty
timely. Sick. Yeah. And where my birth date fell in the month, I am a pilot, which
so sick.
If you can't see, but I'm wearing my X-wing.
So sick.
Let me lift that up a little bit. I've always been a big fan of all the spaceships and love the old Rogue Squadron games and X-Wing series novels, and the old EU are some of my favorites, so that's perfect too. And then, so if I combine the first 3 letters of my last name, the first 2 letters in my first name, I am Eldas.
That's
Eldas,
really sick.
The Mandalorian pilot actor, sir.
I would love to see Luke in a Mandalorian helmet with his hair blowing in some spaceship. I think that would be sick. We got to, maybe we can get someone to do some art. Now that everyone can see Luke, get some hair flowing.
Luke, what color would your Mandalorian helmet be?
Ooh,
not a hyperspace question. Just
a good one. I always say so green is a color I go to, but now I'll switch it up a little bit since I'm a soccer fan, Columbus Crew fan. I'll go black and yellow.
There you go.
Let's go. That actually would be sick.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We don't see that. There's not a lot of yellow.
So we see there's some pretty interesting combinations in Rebels. So when you get to that point in Rebels, we'll talk when we get to Mandalore and all that good stuff. There's some pretty cool suits out there. So there may be something similar, but oh man, black and gold would be insane. So that's fantastic. So I was also I also participated in the character generator. And to my surprise, I came out to be a Geonosian. So I've been working on my Geonosian dialect for a while, still working on it. I don't know if I'll preview it here live or not.
You're not going to give us your best Geonosian. I mean, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's getting there.
That was pretty epic.
Luke does a better one, but I'm working on it. Now, it doesn't even come close to my Yoda impersonation, which you never know when he's going to come up phrasing. But so we'll work on that dialect there. But I can't remember what do you think you can break that down for me live, Holly? Because I was a Geonosian, but I don't recall, unless Luke remembers what exactly I was doing.
You're a smuggler.
A smuggler, which... So I really can't imagine a Geonosian being a smuggler, but maybe, I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Stranger things have happened in the galaxy.
That's true. That's very true.
What was your name?
Oh gosh, I can't remember. I can't remember any of it. I think being a Geonosian really just
overwhelmed
threw me off and overwhelmed me. Yeah. So I'm gonna work on that name. I'll get that here in a bit. But Holly, I was really excited to see what we were gonna come up with here for you. So what do you got?
Okay, well I scoped it out real quick.
It's
not great.
Okay, I don't know if a Geonosian bounty hunter or smuggler is any better than any of the possibilities.
Okay, well, I am a Hutt Jedi. You're welcome.
I am dying. Okay. What?
And I guess I would be named. This is
Come on.
unfortunate.
Come on.
Walho. So here I am.
I'm dying. Holly, did you just write that script for the show? I don't know. Did you just come up with
I made
that,
it all
or
up.
I hope
All
you
of it was
didn't.
wrong.
I hope it came right from the generator. That is absolutely fantastic. Folks, that was not scripted. That is not at all. That's complete and utter genuine name character generator. So it's Holly Waho?
No.
Faho.
Walho.
Walho.
I think it'd actually be Wally according to this, but I like Wallow better
Oh.
because it's the last two letters in your first name.
Okay.
So you
the
took
last
the first two.
Okay.
But you have to stick with Walho, I think.
No, now it's stuck.
It might have sounded better if I had actually read the directions. I just got a little excited.
I'm
Apparently,
dying.
I
That's
made up my
okay.
own rules.
No, that's okay.
It's fine.
No, Walho, Wally, the Hutt Jedi. Guys, I'm going to work on an art piece. Okay, I'm not an artist, but maybe I can find one out there, one of our listeners that would be willing to put together something that would, display myself, the Geonosian smuggler.
Yeah, you're a Canal.
Canal. That's right. And then Holly, the Hutt Jedi, and then Luke, the Mandalorian. Wait, were you a smuggler? What were you again, Luke?
Yeah. No, I was a pilot.
A pilot.
Imagine a Hutt trying to swing a lightsaber with their tiny little arms.
I know. I'm imagining it. Hopefully you're strong in the Force, with maybe telekinesis or something. Maybe the lightsaber combat just really isn't your strength.
I mean, you just don't know. I could be a Master Jedi.
You actually, sitting on the council, you could. I mean, you know what?
You have no idea.
Yoda lost some of his ability after a while, I'm sure. So, I mean, yeah, sit you there on the council and you just have, a chair there.
I don't have to move.
You don't have to move. You can
That's
have
right.
a hologram in wherever you need to. That is great. So we're going to find out a way to get some sort of artwork with the three of us heroes displayed in epic form. That's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. We'll post that in the group so you guys can have fun with it. And everyone needs to get their characters out there. I'm really excited
I know
to
this
see
is
this.
actually hilarious.
It's already been amazing. So let's continue with the fun. So I like really in-depth, sweaty conversations, and we are definitely going to continue to do that here in the next few minutes. But I also like reoccurring segments or just fun things that can be something that we can do every so often that people can look forward to, something consistent and fun. And one thing I think that would be really great that came with the idea of what we call hyperspace inquiry. So it's really just 2 minutes of fast-paced questions that you would want to ask, your friends. You're in hyperspace with them. You have some general Star Wars questions. They can be, what ifs. They can be, anything really that you want to ask. But they're going to be quick. Each of us have come up with a few questions to ask each other, and we're going to get it done in 2 minutes. Because if knowing Star Wars, I think you're never in hyperspace too long. Am I right, Luke? I mean, if you're in hyperspace longer than a few minutes, you're probably, way outside the boundaries of the galaxy.
Yeah, it depends on how far you're going, but we don't need to get in all that math.
Too many logistics here for me to handle. But so we're calling it Hyperspace Inquiry. It's really just supposed to have some fun with this. I'm planning on having some really fun music to go underneath this all. But Holly, do you have 2 minutes ready to count down?
We're ready.
All right. I am going to actually let Holly begin her questions. We are going to hyperspace now.
Okay, so hyperspace inquiry number 1 for Luke and Michael.
Let's go.
Who would win in a lightsaber duel, Kanan or Obi-Wan?
Oh, God. Luke.
I don't know how you can bet against Obi-Wan.
I am Kanan.
Dang.
Oh, he's taking out Maul. Twice.
Speaking of Maul, is Darth Maul a cat person or a dog person?
Cat.
Oh, yeah, it has to be cat. Like, vindictive, sly, yeah.
Lots of claws and horns.
All right.
Third question.
My third question. If you had to pick a droid from the movies to be your roommate, who would you pick?
BB-8.
BB-8.
Luke?
Yeah, I think you gotta go astromech just for the all the capabilities. So I'll go with R2 since you took BB-8.
I just think
There you go.
BB-8 rolling around your room, shooting things out and lighting up lighters would be sick.
He takes up less room. Yeah,
That's true.
Than R2.
That's true. And he could light all the candles. Great point.
A little more mobile. Okay, we've got a few more seconds, minutes. Oh, goodness. Okay, my questions. Question 1, who's the better pilot, Han Solo or Poe Dameron, Holly?
Poe.
Poe. Luke.
Poe.
Nice. If I turn to the dark side, would you kill me or attempt to turn me back to the light, Holly?
I would kill you.
Wow. Luke.
I still see the good in you.
God bless you. Question 3, blue milk or green milk, Holly?
Blue.
Wow. Luke.
I like the cut of that green milk jib. Yeah.
Perfect. Luke, do you have any questions?
Well,
You
I
got
didn't
15 seconds.
No, he doesn't.
prepare very well, but I was going to just say, which animal in the Star Wars universe would you most like to eat?
Ooh, now that space cow.
The
From Mach 2. Whatever you want to call it. Not a space cow, but beach going cow.
I don't know. That
Space
was a good,
whale?
A space whale? No.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I like seafood.
Hello, there it is. Any other questions, Luke? We're coming out of hyperspace.
That's all I got right now.
Oh, that was fun.
That was
Ooh,
good.
I feel like I learned a lot about you guys in those 2 minutes. 2 minutes in heaven. 2
Also-
minutes in hyperspace.
For the record, it
Yeah.
is hyperspace and not heaven. But also, I don't think that I would even have the blue milk. I don't even like
Really?
milk.
Well, it's meant to be a fun question.
Green?
It's
really, Luke?
lactose free.
Like blue coconut milk.
Blue coconut milk. I don't know if they have coconuts and or almonds in the Star Wars.
There has to be some sort of dairy
universe.
substitute.
I agree. There's something, but I don't know. I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge yet, so I haven't been able to try either of them. So hopefully in August of 2020, able to sample a little bit of that both.
Your time will come.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's a lot of fun. We're going to continue the hyperspace inquiries here in coming segments, and I'll let Luke prepare a little more beforehand. I kind of threw it at him last second. So maybe we'll add some time, but yeah, hyperspace, you're not in there too long, but if you want to ask your friends some very, very specific pointed questions, that's about 2 minutes. That's what she said. All right. Moving on from the hyperspace inquiries. Speaking of Star Wars news, not a whole lot coming out, but we did see that Yahoo Entertainment came out with an article, and they talked to Todd Fisher, which is Carrie Fisher's brother. And he had some things to say about J.J. Abrams' original intent with Carrie Fisher, or maybe even Disney's intent with what her role was going to be in the trilogy, and more specifically Episode 9, which we now know is The Rise of Skywalker, but maybe it would have been something different if things would have turned out differently. But so it's a really interesting read, and once that came out, everyone has been just running with it. And I was just like, wow, did they really say that Carrie Fisher would be the last Jedi? Was that like what Todd said, or did Disney say that?
Who actually made that comment?
Who made that comment? I'm not sure. So we went to the article to check out and see exactly what was said. And Holly, can you kind of summarize for us like what Todd said so we can try to clear this up? Because I feel like, I don't know if people took the time to read some of these articles or not, but what did he say?
So he said verbatim, she was going to be the big payoff in the final film. She was going to be the last Jedi, so to speak.
So to speak.
That's cool, right?
Yeah.
Those were his
That's
words.
what he said.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to speak.
Mm-hmm.
How does he know that?
Luke, do you take that as Carrie Fisher was going to wield a lightsaber in Episode 9? She was going to come and defeat her son or whatever the big baddie was going to be?
That's kind of what he hints at further down in the article too. He says, people used to say to me, "Why is it that Carrie never gets a lightsaber and chops up some bad guys?" And kind of talks about how Alec Guinness, when he appeared in A New Hope and had a duel with Vader, he was, an older gentleman at that point in his career. So it's not like, Carrie couldn't have come on and done something like that.
Yeah.
So that's what Todd Fisher seems to be really hinting at, that she would be like a lightsaber wielding Jedi. But I don't think that's a given. I mean, there's lots of ways that she could exert influence using Jedi powers that aren't necessarily wielding a lightsaber. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see, but it's kind of hard to imagine her going that route. I mean, we've seen her like shooting a blaster and stuff before, so I guess it's not too far of a stretch. It's just another form of combat. But it seems at this point in the saga, she's more of a tactician and a coordinator, organizer.
Yeah, that's how I took it. I don't know. I've never really pictured Carrie Fisher, or not Carrie Fisher, but Leia really going down that Jedi path. I mean, in Legends, like that's a complete thing. But in this sequel trilogy, that never, especially when you add in the novels like Bloodline, I never really, they talk about her training with Luke, but it's more so of a like understanding the Force and what to do with it. It's not like they were sitting there, dueling with lightsabers to practice. So I never really got that impression that was where this story was going, even before her passing. So I don't know, Holly. What do you take from it?
I mean, I think the same things that we've kind of talked about it. I kind of felt like it was leading a little bit too much to say that this was something that like somebody at Lucasfilm had actually confirmed was going to happen. So I think it's kind of hard to see that being a big role in the movies. Like, even if we still had Carrie Fisher around to do it. Yeah.
Would that have been the direction that they went? Yeah, I don't know. It's and who knows what Todd Fisher like actually knew. I mean, they definitely consulted him, I'm sure, on things, but I don't know how much he actually knew about the direction that they were going. But I mean, he definitely knows something. But I think, especially after The Last Jedi, we expected her to have a really significant role. I mean, I was theorizing that she was going to be the one, if Ben Solo was redeemed, she was going to have to be the one to do it. And for me, that would have been her big role. And I thought maybe if they had enough footage, they could work with that.
But he said they only had 8 minutes of footage to work with. So I am actually like more interested in the 8 minutes of footage part than the she was supposed to be the Last Jedi part, I think. Because I'm interested to see what they're going to do with 8 minutes and still have her play some sort of crucial role in this final film.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to think now, Luke, that so many people are talking about Hayden Christensen needing to come back. Like maybe even before like we knew Palpatine was coming back, people were talking about Hayden coming back, needing to be a part of the end of the saga. Would that have worked, if Carrie Fisher were supposed to be the big payoff in this movie, or could they have worked together, or is it really one or the other?
That would be a really interesting connection of Leia and Anakin, because thinking back, we saw Carrie obviously interact with, or Leia interact with Vader in A New Hope several times, but neither of them knew at that time their true relationship. Wow, and then again in Empire, they come into contact in Bespin, but it doesn't seem like we never see like a real interaction between them at that time either. Yeah. And then in Return of the Jedi, they don't cross paths at all by the time she learns like who he is. So it'd be really interesting to see, her coming face to face with Anakin once she knows who her father is and that he's her father. That's never happened before. And it's really interesting that you brought up Bloodline in this discussion, because that book does directly touch on like, okay, I talked to Luke about Jedi teachings and meditations, and she kind of says, I don't see myself as a full Jedi, but she uses meditations and things that he taught her to be able to get herself out of danger. throughout the book, she senses things and can react quicker to things because of that. So it's not like she's completely shut off or never kind of went down that path. She did get some training from Luke. It's just never in the sense of like going into battle Jedi type stuff that we kind of think of.
Yeah, and I mean it's important to remember too that like the Jedi, especially here in new canon material, have really specific skills that I don't know that they focus on more, and even the dark side as well. You have Inquisitors who are really good with empathy to a point where they can understand how people are going to react, and even almost kind of, I don't know if it's necessarily reading their thoughts, but knowing what their moves are going to be. We see that with one of the sisters. I can't even remember. And others that, aren't as, strong with telekinesis and things like that. And there's some Legends, novels in there that touch upon that as well. So you're right. It may not have been just her, wielding a lightsaber or something. It could have been something else. And she, I think, Luke, correct me if I'm wrong, she even specified that she doesn't use it when it comes to politics because that's something, I don't know how she framed it, but that's really just something she wanted to do on her own, when talking about the Republic and kind of building alliances and stuff like that. Did I miss that?
Yeah, I think you're right. She kind of alluded that she didn't want to like Jedi mind trick people into seeing her point of view in politics. She wanted to persuade people from her point of view just being the best course of action as any politician would want, not to like manipulate people into following her as a leader. But I think what Holly said is right about the most intriguing thing about Leia in the movie is just the fact that she's in it.
Yeah.
And how they worked that old footage in, talking about the 8 minutes that they had. And it makes me think back to Rogue One, because at the moment that we're all in the theater on the 20th or the night of the 19th, whenever it is, and that when we get to the point in the film when she's on screen, it'll be, sort of shivers down your spine.
Yeah.
Because I remember being in Rogue One. I saw the movie, I think, a couple days after it was released, and she had passed away like the day before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
And to see that last shot of Rogue One, where it's like the young version of Carrie as Princess Leia.
Yeah.
It sent shivers down my spine to see it then, within like a day of her passing. So to see like a full legitimate scene with her again, you had those feelings a little bit with Last Jedi, but that movie was kind of all shot and filmed before she died. So it wasn't like they were cobbling together scraps. This is like just amazing that they're even going to get her in the movie at all, given the circumstances. So that moment's just going to be really powerful. And I have no idea how they took throwaway footage from The Force Awakens and are making it work in this movie. It's going to be amazing to see.
Yeah, we definitely see her embracing with Rey, so they're likely going to have a moment, because I mean, Rey's kind of been there with her family through this entire time with Luke and Han and even Ben. I mean, there's a connection there that is deeper probably than we realize through the Force. But what you said really just intrigued me, thinking about like what could have been, with her and Anakin, and then knowing the Republic's response to learning that her father was Darth Vader. Like, it wouldn't have just been so like, such an easy transition for her. I think that would have been, we probably could have discussed it more in novels rather than a movie, but like what would that discussion have been like with them? Like it would just be like, oh hey Dad, I'm glad you're light now, like my life publicly has been ruined. Like I don't know, that would have been really really complicated to kind of clear that up. And I mean Luke gets to have that moment and see his redemption, but Leia really doesn't, and she doesn't know much about him other than him being a big bad guy. I don't know. Is that interesting to you guys? I'm seeing nods. Yes, podcast. Don't forget, it's an audio podcast. What interests you about that, Holly? Like, speechless. You're speechless. Okay. I think that would be fascinating. I don't know. That would be a lot to put on, in a film. But it'd also be a little strange for her to be, having a conversation with Hayden Christensen, about, hey, you're my father. And all these bad things happened to me. I'm glad you're good now. I mean, that would be a little strange. But who knows? I don't know if he's going to be a part of this movie. Like,
would it be the young? It would,
it
would have to be young. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it has to be. There's no way about it unless, they go back and use, old, Anakin. I don't know if they would actually be able to do that.
Well, so, something I like that was at the end of this article is that he did say that J.J. Abrams found a way to address both losses in an emotional way, and Todd Fisher said, this is, in its own way, a payoff, which I think is more so the payoff that it was referencing earlier on.
Yeah.
It's Carrie talking to us from beyond. The beautiful thing about the concept of the Force is that there's no real death. You just exist in another dimension. So Carrie is looking down or sideways or wherever and is still a part of us. To be able to see that, it's magical stuff only in the movies.
Yeah. No, it is. And that's, I don't know. It is going to be emotional. It's going to be just like Luke said, and I don't know. It will feel like she just hasn't really gone. We're seeing her on the screen here, and it was the same with Rogue One. But they had shot all of her Last Jedi stuff. Did she pass before the movie actually debuted?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry for leaving you hanging there earlier. I was given.
Oh no, you're good.
Giving Holly a chance to talk, and my dog has been rolling around on the ground making all sorts of noise. So I was trying to keep my mic muted for a couple minutes.
We need to get him in the podcast. Does he have a lot to say?
Restless. Now he's at the door asking to go outside. Just wait a minute. But yeah, we were talking about Carrie's role in Last Jedi. She died like right when Rogue One came out, so that was December 2016.
Yeah, and
they had finished all the. I think principal photography for The Last Jedi, which came out the following December in 2017. So she wasn't available for them to do any, reshoot, makeup shoots, whatever. But all the like principal filming had been done, so they weren't missing like any big chunk of her part. So this is, like I said, just like totally different from that. They're just taking old footage and working it in. I just can't imagine how you take what this dialogue is that they were able to reuse in a new way. JJ has been obviously like open with the family about some of the things they've done. I think trying to be respectful of them for kind of allowing them to do it. And so I think it's great that Todd Fisher is giving his kind of seal of approval that it's meaningful, it's powerful on more levels than one, on the character level and on the real world human level. So I expect we won't be disappointed given that kind of praise from the family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was actually something I was looking at earlier. There's Yahoo did a survey at the end of the article, and they were just, do you wish that Leia had been the Last Jedi? Yes or no?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so there are two questions, two answers. One was yes, that would be the perfect ending to her story, and the other one was no, Luke was the Last Jedi.
Ooh.
So it's only one or the other.
Oh, so they give you Luke or Leia as the options. Okay.
65% of the people who answered said that it would have been the perfect ending to Leia's story if she had been the Last Jedi, and then 35% of people said no, Luke was the Last Jedi.
Well, I mean, there's
it kind of makes you think a different idea for like the rise of Skywalker.
It does, but if you think about the Last Jedi, Luke himself says he's not the Last Jedi.
That's true.
I mean, it's implied there that Rey is the Last Jedi. So, I mean, are any of them really the Last Jedi? I don't know.
Who is it?
That's up for debate. There was another thought I had, and now I can't remember. But so I think, it would have been cool, if they would have had that moment. Ooh, the thought just came to my mind. in the certain point of view chapter where Yoda and Obi-Wan talk about the new hope, so to speak, the last Jedi, or the one who could save them all, their only hope. Yoda talks about Leia. Yoda talks about Leia being the one that he wants to train, that Luke is too immature, that he's not ready, that, he's careless, that he just wasn't ready. He just wasn't ready. And she is. Or maybe he never was going to be ready. Yoda didn't seem to have too high hopes for him. So I don't know. They're Luke and now in canon that could have been something that could have played out here now, and we know in episode 9, and that kind of would have tied it in with that certain point of view story. I don't know. I just never really thought of it that way, but it looks like most people are saying that. Did you say Luke being the last Jedi? Leia being the last Jedi? Luke, I don't know if you heard it, but they had a poll at the end of that article, and most people said that they thought Leia should be the last Jedi rather than Luke. So I don't know. Interesting stuff. But the article I thought, was interesting, but people's reactions I thought were slightly misleading. Maybe I just wasn't understanding the article enough. But so that was, an interesting bit of news this week. Something else came out. It was very brief. Yahoo Entertainment came out, or no, sorry. We already went over the Yahoo Entertainment article. The New York Times had a piece on Disney Plus and how their advertising campaign is really the greatest thing ever, pretty much. That it's unmatched in streaming services. It's going to be huge. But they make a statement in this article that is fascinating. And the statement reads, "The Mandalorian, which contains a dramatic Star Wars universe spoiler in the first episode and will be available the moment Disney Plus starts," well, there's our answer, has been as heavily promoted as a traditional feature film with billboards, 30-second television commercials, radio spots, and digital ads. I just had Chewy sit on my cable. So The Mandalorian contains a dramatic Star Wars universe spoiler.
So what could it be?
That's my question. Luke, you mentioned you heard this before we started broadcasting. Do you have something specifically in mind, or just something general that maybe hasn't been answered about, post episode 6?
Oh, there's so many possibilities. One thing that is super exciting about this story is not just what it could be, but the fact that it is going to be.
Yeah.
I think these live action series are going to be more tightly knit with the canon of the films than we see in the animated stuff. Don't get me wrong, Rebels and Clone Wars have some amazing stuff that really ties in nicely with the saga story and everything, but that's maybe 30% of the episodes, 40% if you're generous in those prior series, and in Resistance it's 10% of the episodes so far have that kind of tie-in. So that can be a little frustrating when you want to be so involved in all of the canon pieces, and put them all together, that there's not as many tie-ins as there could be. But it sounds like this is going to have amazing, great ones, sort of looking back from the original trilogy and connecting forward. So now getting into the specifics, I don't know if I can pin down what this first one might be, but given Filoni's involvement, I'm really holding out hope for an Ahsoka appearance in the series at some point.
Oh, what have they been doing this whole time? Is that the spoiler?
Throw that in episode 1. I think the first episode would have to be something that reached a broader audience. Yeah. If the New York Times is writing about it,
agreed.
Clone Wars is great, and among the deep fandom, everyone knows and has, I think, a lot of admiration for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But starting this series out, it's the very first thing launching with Disney Plus that's original and upfront. It's got to be something a little more accessible.
Yeah.
To people. So I'm thinking it's going to connect more to Return of the Jedi than to something from animation or something from the sequel trilogy, but
yeah,
really struggling to think of what that could be. And do you have any thoughts of it something like
I feel like it's
like that?
yeah, maybe, but I think it could. I do. I think I think it could be related to Boba Fett for some reason. I mean, there's so much. Yeah. There's such a cloud of like darkness over Boba Fett, and like, you know, we there's been, you know, for years now, people were wondering, are they going to do a Boba Fett movie? Are they going to do a show? Like, is he dead? Did he survive? He survived in Legends. Is this Boba Fett? Is it his relative? I feel like
that's a great way to pull in people to watch it, because the audience is very different than the audience that they wanted to watch the Clone Wars of Rebels. It's not directed at children at this point. It's directed at people who have been a fan of Star Wars in that timeline. I
also think it could be just like a really effective way of winning over the fans. But then what especially with all of the advertising and stuff for the show right now, what makes it appealing is the fact that we don't know much about him, that we probably won't know much about him, at least, you know, not right off the bat. So I feel like, you know, my argument's supported by like, yeah, that's a huge bit of information we all have wanted, which is a major Star Wars universe spoiler, like not just Ahsoka or Sabine or like what they've been doing, or if Ezra Bridger just shows up with the Mandalorian or Thrawn or somebody like that. But that's something that most Star Wars people know, that, you know, something happened to Boba Fett. And there is a bigger conversation about whether he survived or not in the Sarlacc pit. So I feel like that could very well be what it is we find out. But then again, that takes away from that like mystery that is really selling people on the Mandalorian, and the fact that he's only said a couple of words in the trailers. Do you have anything that you're thinking it could be, Holly?
I mean, I kind of, like you said, I didn't think anything specific. Like, I didn't specifically think Boba Fett, but I did agree with what you said, where it probably is something that, because there are very specific people who watch the movies, only like the movies, and they're not going to watch the TV shows because they don't really care enough to really know about those characters. But if you take somebody who was in one of the movies and put them directly in a TV show, or have them referenced all the time in a show, I think you're more likely to pull those people into it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's probably something like that, but
or it's something related to the holiday special, because that's where
I mean, are we gonna see Ewoks in The Mandalorian?
He's just barbecuing one. Yeah, the Ewoks are still around, and they've gone off world, and they're not just on Endor anymore.
That's a spoiler. Their own medicine with the barbecue.
Right.
Yes, right? Like yeah, no, it just feels like it has to be. If the New York Times is saying it, it feels like it has to be something bigger. But I kind of want him to be a little mysterious before, because I like not kind of knowing what happened to Boba. But I don't know. The stakes could be huge if we're talking about Mandalore and its future. We really don't know. I mean, other than seeing, you know, the dark saber, whatever it was, handed off to whatever Mandalorian that was, that's kind of the last we know of Mandalore right now. We really don't know the state of it. So it'll be interesting if they talk about, you know, his home planet, and if it's still around, or there's still people occupying it, like what's going on, and what's his stake in it. So I don't know. It could also be, you know, something, I don't know. With the First Order, we really don't know how the First Order started. Other than, you know, the Aftermath trilogy kind of talks about, you know, the contingency plan, and you kind of assume that the First Order derived out of, you know, this contingency plan. I don't know. Luke, do you think we could learn something more about the First Order here, or is it the First Order still in its infancy, and we're just going to see the remnants of the Empire?
You're blowing me away with your projections.
Come on,
because
let's go.
I hope you have your bookie on speed dial, because I would get a bet in on that Boba Fett thing. I'll get to your First Order in a sec, but I want to follow up on the Boba Fett. That makes a ton of sense to me, to kind of settle the Boba Fett question early, because you have people coming in who, when they see the imagery of that armor, their thought is Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And you'll have a bunch of more casual people thinking like, so this is Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
But if they can kind of give us more of a background about Boba Fett, something cool we didn't know about before.
Yeah.
Or maybe he gets out of the Sarlacc, but isn't around because of something else, but has some connection to our character in this show. I think it will just kind of settle people and focus them in on what this is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, sorry, this isn't Boba Fett, and you're not getting a Boba Fett movie if you were really into that for the Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
But like, oh, here's some juicy stuff you can learn. So it kind of pleases both the more hardcore people and the more casual people who might be confused about who or what this is going into it. So I think that was a brilliant call there. So I'm really getting behind that now.
Could be Boba's uncle, or Boba is the uncle. He's like, you killed my uncle. I don't know. He's fighting the Hutts. I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, and then on the First Order, I think that is also a really juicy possibility, because it seems we're going to get some of that through this series. There's clearly Empire remnants that he's dealing with and coming across, and that pieces of those Empire remnants is what spawns the First Order. So that makes a lot of sense that we're going to get more birth of the First Order background. Another kind of even more obscure character to throw out there than Ahsoka is one who's only ever appeared in books, and that's Rey Sloane.
Yes, please.
As a Imperial Admiral, she could show up maybe.
She absolutely could.
That's an even sweatier connection, because I think there's, in the hierarchy of like the number of eyes that have seen things, it goes like the main movies, then probably the animated series, then all the books. I think is like us really sweaty people. Books, so that's maybe even more of a stretch, but it'd be cool.
She's at that status for me of like, where the hell is she? Like, where the contingency plan and all of that, and a lot of the Aftermath trilogy has set us up for the Rise of Skywalker. It feels like it's related. So where has Rey Sloane been? She is the one that is the catalyst of the First Order, it seems. So where is she at? And when thinking about the First Order and the Empire, like, it couldn't have been just like a seamless transition. Like, if it were, then it would just be the Empire, like there had to have been some infighting or something. And that's why I'm interested to see in the Rise of Skywalker, they have this Allegiant officer, which I think he is probably an old Imperial who is a part of the First Order now or something. I'm interested to see what that transition was like, because there had to have been some people that didn't want to be a part of it. Or that wanted the Empire to remain, and what did that look like? I don't know. It's just going to be, we just need more information. We need more information on what the galaxy looks like after that time period, and hopefully Mandalorian will kind of play with that a little more and not keep it just so focused on this character, but we can understand a little more about what's going on in the society around him. I fully expect that. So anything else to talk about in the Mandalorian? Anybody?
We'll have to wait.
We're going to wait and see.
You say we need more, and I'm just pulling up the countdown clock, and it's at 1 day, 7 hours, 21 minutes.
Yeah.
So it'll be even less time by the time people are listening to this. So
absolutely.
You don't have much longer to wait.
Well, and the New York Times said it's going to be available the moment Disney Plus starts.
Well,
that's directly from the Arctic.
Set your alarm.
God. I absolutely will be opening up the app, and I may try to convince Holly and Luke to take an hour-long lunch break, and we'll go watch it on the iPad or something, or figure out a way to cast it in one of the conference rooms so we can be ready. But we'll see. So that was really, really interesting to hear that. So there is a synopsis coming out about the first 3 episodes, I think, that have been leaked. They're not really they don't really tell that much, I don't think, so I'm not even going to bother bringing them up.
Why would you even want to look at that?
It's not really,
watch it?
It's like one sentence. It's just, it's general stuff like, oh, the Mandalorian is going to get his bounty. Like, we know that. Like, we know that's going to happen. It's just which episode, whatever. So those have come out, but it's not really anything worth really even discussing. So this isn't really any news or anything like that, but it's something that Luke just recently picked up, and I've delved into some of the stories behind the Star Wars comic line that took place between Episode 4 and Episode 5, the main line that just recently ended. And Luke just started picking some up and reading them, which is great because he's getting into those comics now, getting even deeper, getting even sweatier. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go read right alongside him, and I'm gonna have Holly come in too. So picked up the first issue of the Star Wars line and made Holly read it as well, because Luke and I talked a little bit about it at work and how fascinating it was. And I gotta say, after reading that first issue, and I know that the line has some issues later on and some of the stories are a little silly, but this first issue knocked me off my feet. I was so impressed with the story and how I felt about the characters. It felt like it was part of the movie. I mean, hell, Luke even had the freaking gold jacket on. It's like they just went from the ceremony and they're like, well, all right, we got to get back to business. Put the freaking, the medal away. We got, the Empire to dissolve.
No wardrobe change.
No, zero wardrobe change. So Holly, you're getting deep into these comics now. Like you're actually really enjoying them. Did this one disappoint you at all, or was this one of your favorites so far?
I mean, I felt like it was believable. I felt like the characters were believable. I know that we had talked about the last comic line a couple of times in the past episodes. And I think that we had some issues with the characters, and sometimes they weren't really believable. It didn't feel like Rey was acting like Rey, and I think in these comics, I felt like we were really interacting with Han and Luke and Leia, which was really great.
Yeah, the writing was fantastic.
It really was.
Luke, you expressed to me a little bit how you felt about it, but overall, what did you think of that first issue?
Yeah, as I've said before, the comics are my blind spot. It's because I've read some and they have some out there stuff. Like there's some of the I think it's one of the Darth Vader lines has like the Emperor has all these other like bounty hunter people, and they're like some goofy like weird cyborgs and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the thing about the comics is there's some really cool stuff in there, but to me it seems like the most likely canon to be altered and changed and swept away at different times because there's so many, and it gets into some weird stuff too that you think like this is like maybe not really canon. It's like light canon, but but in terms of this line, like I'm enjoying it. I'm actually 6 issues deep at this point. I just grabbed 7 through 12 as well, sort of the next volume.
Nice.
And the thing about the early bit that is a little hard to swallow is another Vader and Luke interaction that would be before the big Bespin duel. Yeah. And it's hard to imagine based off the way he acts in Empire that he's had an encounter with Vader before then. So that's one of those that's like, is this really canon? Yeah. But I think deeper in the line is more interesting because it gets into what a blow to his confidence that encounter was, because he's coming off, like you said, medal ceremony for blowing up the Death Star,
gold jacket,
dope jacket on. He's ready to go. He thinks like he's just these things are gonna be easy for him because he's a Jedi and has his powers. But he has this run-in with Vader and kind of barely escapes alive, and really has no business escaping alive. It's just kind of gets lucky, and that makes him think, okay, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought, and I can't just, stroll through this easily. And so that's really interesting to see kind of how it just wrecks his confidence. He has to kind of build it back up and delve deeper into what it means to be a Jedi, and he starts to. So that stuff is really interesting. So I guess if it took this hard to believe encounter with Vader to get there, just from the like what the character's going through, I guess you forgive that to get to that point where you're getting this interesting struggle with the character.
Yeah, and it adds to Luke's roller coaster too. Like it just there's another high point, and then he just gets his butt whooped by Vader, and Vader really it's great too because he doesn't sense a lot from him. He recognizes. I think he recognizes him as the one who blew up the Death Star, right?
Yeah,
I think
he does.
He does, yeah. So he can sense what he sensed there. He remembers that, but isn't really probably, the Force is growing in Luke. We think about Rey and the kind of the Force kind of encompassing her and growing. It was probably, doing the same thing in Luke too. So the next encounter, on Bespin, he's respecting him a little more, but he did not respect him whatsoever in this issue, and just kind of yanks the lightsaber away. Didn't even mention anything about the lightsaber, did he? Didn't recognize it. Nothing like that, right? Did anybody catch that?
I might have completely missed that part because I don't even remember anything about him yanking the lightsaber away.
I thought he pulled the blue lightsaber away from him, didn't he?
I don't have it in front of me. I grabbed it from the library and I took it back.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think he might mention that he recognizes the saber, and that gets his mind going a little bit. And so in the rest of the line, you see him hooking up with some bounty hunters we may or may not have talked about already to help him investigate who the hell is this guy.
Yeah.
His strength in the Force, plus I think the sighting of his own saber in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's maybe not too surprising because he knows he had some connection to Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's true.
Whoever this guy is. So like, if Obi-Wan took my blade as I was laying there on Mustafar melting and screaming.
That's true.
So he kind of knows Obi-Wan had it. So I guess it's not too much of a shocker that this dude who comes out of nowhere who's connected to Obi-Wan is running around with my saber. I guess that's not too surprising for him at that point, but still just kind of like that leads him down the path of looking into the Obi-Wan connection.
Exactly. And Obi-Wan even says, run. Hey, Luke, you are not ready for this. Like this is, and it's cool that I like that it was by chance that, Vader shows up as the negotiator or whatever he was, and it wasn't Luke confronting him, because that would have really just like going and seeking him out, I guess is the better way to put it. So the fact that they did this and he shows up and he's like, crap, I got to do something. Like I liked that, but if they would have had him seeking him out and I got to confront Vader, like, no, that would have been terrible. That's why we love episode 5, the end of episode 5 so much. So, but it does. Now I'm interested to see where this goes, because I think what this can do a good job is making him understand who this person is. And, oh my God, he's my son, because it's a very dramatic moment in Star Wars, but there isn't a whole lot that leads up to that, or you don't see a lot of Vader investigation. So I'm actually really looking forward to this. I wasn't sure I would like this line as much as I've already started to, so I'm interested to see where these 65 or 66 issues are going to take us. It's going to be a good one. So just wanted to touch up on that, because that's something we're going to be reading here and discussing, weekly as long as we can, or every few episodes. So if you want to read along with us, it's a good one so far. So, and it just wrapped up, and we'll be actually in the near future in 2020 getting the episode 5. In between episode 5 and episode 6 Star Wars line starting up. So this is a good one to get a hold to first, and sink your teeth into it, and then we'll pick up from there when the new one launches. So that's kind of news that we have. We got another email. Really excited, from Brent, another longtime listener, member of the group. Really like this guy. He's got a lot of good stuff to say in the group as well. So we got an email from him, and he's just kind of touching on, what he enjoys most about this new sequel trilogy, and how he's a big EU guy. He's been reading EU books for years, in the 90s, during the dark times when we were Star Wars lists. And so he kind of touches upon that and how they're kind of involving some of that material in the new stuff. So, Holly, you got that one pulled up? We're going to go ahead and read Brent's email, if you're ready.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So from Brent, he says, hello there, Michael, Holly, and the Flying Casual family. What can I say about the new trailer? Probably a lot, but we'll just go with yes, yes, yes. There is so much awesome. I cannot wait until December. Me either. With this trailer and the whole sequel trilogy, it's been really nice to see so many subtle nods to the expanded universe. As someone who consumed almost all of the EU during the Dark Ages and the of the Force between the. Sorry. As someone who
I just blacked out. Too much margarita here.
No, it's hard to read it on the iPad because the words are so small.
You can blow it up.
As someone who consumed almost all of the EU during the dark ages of the Force between the original and prequel trilogies, these nods have helped alleviate some of my disappointment when Disney scrapped it and labeled it as Legends. But Disney kept true with the idea that the Legends have a bit of truth to them. I now view the EU as a massive Force vision that Luke had after the Emperor died or went on vacation as the new movie is heading and the cloud of the dark side lifted.
Yeah.
But constantly in motion is the future, and events come to pass in a different manner and change the outcome. In The Force Awakens, Han and Leia are married with child/children. There is still hope. Star Wars is built on hope.
Amen.
And like the EU, Luke is off doing his own thing, though his reasons are different now.
Yes, I actually really love that he mentions that because, a lot of it, Luke is out, fighting God knows what and getting answers and while other people are watching over the council and the order, he's just now doing it in a different way. I love that.
In The Last Jedi, we get Luke's Force projection and his nephew's fall to the dark side like we saw in Legacy of the Force series. Hopefully the latter is more fully explored in the new movie.
Absolutely.
In The Rise of Skywalker, we've seen the Star Destroyer rise from the ground, like in the X-Wing series. Then there's whatever's going on with C-3PO, seeing him plugged in, rising with red eyes, and images of him with Chewie's bowcaster combined with Lando's return makes me think of the Yuuzhan Vong series. Is he getting the equivalent of a Yuuzhan Vong hunter droid upgrade from Tenandro Arms? Between the space ponies running on the surface of a Star Destroyer and what looks like the most epic space battle since Return of the Jedi and possibly ever, I have some high hopes for the saga's finale. But with that said, I'm not going in with expectations.
Good.
JJ and Kathleen Kennedy never called me for my input, so anything I want in the movies may not materialize. And remember, expectations lead to disappointment. Disappointment leads to anger, and anger leads to the dark side.
Yes. Speculate responsibly. It's dangerous out there. The deeper you dive, the more you will be disappointed. He's absolutely right. Luke, did you read any of the Yuuzhan Vong material out there, the X-Wings back in the day?
I didn't get as far as when the Yuuzhan Vong showed up. I went like in and out of the old EU. I hit the Thrawn trilogy, like I said. I hit the X-Wing series, was my favorite, and then I started to hit a lot of the earlier stuff. Sort of the timelines that were closer to the Return of the Jedi and not the ones that got way further out with like Luke and our Han and Leia's kids and all that.
Yeah.
But I know kind of some of the plot lines that develop, and he's right that some of it, you can draw connections to what's going on in the sequel trilogy because it did so much of it focused on the next generation of Skywalkers, which is obviously more narrowly focused in the sequel trilogy with just Ben. There were all sorts of kids running around in the EU of what Han and Leia had several, and I don't remember if Luke ever had any in the EU. Yeah. So there's definitely those connections you can draw, and I think Brent has the perfect mindset in the way that he approaches it. He's enjoying the fact that he can make those connections because he has that background that not everybody has, but he's not letting it like, oh, if this doesn't happen in Rise of Skywalker because of that 37th book in the New Jedi Order series,
close.
This is dead to me. So I think that's great that he's like taking the best of both worlds in that.
Yeah. I have looked. I don't know. I've enjoyed what they've done so much more than I even thought they would. After they made all of this material, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if we lost Luke or not. I think we still got Luke there. But I'm enjoying it more than I ever thought I would because I look at the new canon stuff coming out as what's actually happening, and then I'm referencing EU material as almost like a guidebook and being like, oh, I know these are their strengths, and wouldn't it be cool if they brought this in here and then new canon material? So I'm doing the same thing that Brent's doing and really appreciating what they're doing, and it's fun recognizing those moments and going back and making connections between Ben Solo and Jason Solo. That's been a lot of fun. Ez and I back in the day did a huge, comparison of the two and how similar they really are. And that was before, The Last Jedi and stuff. But so I love what Brent's doing, and I love that he's appreciating it, and he's doing what a lot of people need to do, and that's to go into this movie with open arms and open eyes and embrace it. And it could be, we could see the hugest, the hugest, the biggest and most awesome space battle that we've ever seen in Star Wars in this movie. It feels like it's leading up to that, especially with all the Star Destroyers coming out of the ground and all that good stuff. So cannot wait to see this film. But Brent, thanks for the email. That was awesome. And you guys continue to send us emails, send us voicemails. I like voicemails. We haven't got any voicemails in a while. I want a voicemail.
Yeah, call us.
Call us. I want to hear you. But this has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing those hyperspace inquiries. That was a good time. And getting to have some fun with you guys. Doesn't always have to be serious. Doesn't always have to be sweaty. It can just be a little bit of fun too. But we'll eventually get to the sweatiness. So I want to thank Holly and Luke for sticking around with us and having a good time here on a late Sunday night. Just like Luke said, a day and a few hours, and then we're watching The Mandalorian on Tuesday night. So come check us out on YouTube. We'll be live around 8 p.m. And I'll get the specifics up on the Facebook group and all that good stuff. So come join us there. Be ready to chat. Be ready to theorize, and maybe we'll find out what that big spoiler was, and we could talk about it. And if I was right, if it's something to do with Boba Fett, well, fantastic. We'll talk about it more then. But send us an email. Send us an email to flyingcasualcast@gmail.com. Or send a voicemail, like Holly said, to 614-398-2119, and we'll read that live on the air. So that's it. That's an hour and 6 minutes of our time. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Come back and join us Tuesday on YouTube. We'll be going live talking about The Mandalorian. Can't wait. I know you're excited. So we'll talk to you then. Peace.